Yes, guys, I'm Si. Welcome to Cardiff City World. Here for another live show. So, slight change in schedule again. My PC is being lots of expletives, shall we say. Having some real issues with it when it comes to editing. So, I was hoping to put two episodes of the history of Cardiff City out with Terry Phillips today. Got a couple of episodes ready to go. We've got part 2 and 3 of the Confessions of a Regional Journalist, following on from last week's episode. So the plan is, as it stands, is to get them out tomorrow. I'm going to do some wiping of my computer and getting rid of some old podcasts and stuff and try and free up the hard drive a little bit, see if that helps. If I have to continue to have the issues that I'm having, then I might have to just do the audio versions this week, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. So what I thought we'd do is something which I was planning to do as a more of a pre-recorded video with the boys when we film next at the H Podcast Nation HQ, which I think we're going to do soon. In the next week or two, we're going to go and film some stuff. We might have a new face joining us as well, which is always good. So bringing forward basically a video, because we've got no news in terms of the managerial situation, which is insane to me. I was speaking to someone earlier on, and do you know what's really like the strangest thing is like all the media people I know and all the kind of journalists and ex-journalists and the rest of it, people involved in that side of things, none of them seem to know anything. All the ex-players which I know, none of them seem to know anything. Anyone at the club at the moment, no one seems to know anything. It's very strange, and it's not the way to have a stable football club. It's not the way to take things forward. And as we discussed in the show the other day, if you haven't checked out that show from day before yesterday, then I encourage you to do so. We really looked at Vincent Tan's options going forward if he wishes to try and recoup his money. From a football point of view, really, we looked at it in terms of what his options were. But it was a really interesting conversation, really interesting discussion. People joining in from the chat and stuff like that. It's available for download and you can watch it on YouTube. For some reason, YouTube cut off the start of the video. I don't know why. Cut off like the first minute or two of the live version, but I did re-upload the the full version as a video. That's why there's two versions of it, if anyone was wondering. The Flower Hour's back tomorrow. What day are we? Tuesday? Yeah, tomorrow as well. So the boys will be back. Wednesday night's quiz night normally, so I would assume that they'll be doing some quizzes and stuff. And yeah, it's just going to be good fun. You know, we'll always do. Yesterday, I think, might have been the first time we haven't put content out. Like, I know there was one Saturday where we didn't, but we did put something out really early the next morning. So we've been very consistent, and it's not. It's a tech issue rather than anything else. But on with the thing. If you have got any questions and stuff like that, or anything, kind of, we always do a bit of sidetracking and a bit of off on a tangent. So if there is any questions, I'll kind of come to them as and when. And I also want your opinions on these players. It's a pretty simple game: keep, sell, loan. So we're going to include the players that we loaned in this year as well. Whether you'd like to see him back, whether you'd like to see us try and sign him permanently, would you want to have him back on loan, etc. But it's a strange one. Just on the like on the managerial situation, Paul says there must be more going on behind the scenes. Maybe something's just not right. Everything's silent. Yeah, it's weird. It's very, very strange. But yeah, that's an interesting idea. Reese says you should do an episode, Ace Podcast Nation, a round table, get all us members around the table, record us talking about Cardiff City. You see fighters and actors and stuff doing round tables now. They're great. Yeah, that's not a bad idea, mate. I might do that when we do the monthly Patreon special, because we're going to get some people down there, or get some members down there and have a few beers and film some stuff. So maybe that'll be the day to do it. But indeed, let's rock and roll, baby. Let's give me your opinions as we're going. So the first name up is Jack Alnwick. I feel like Jack Alnwick has been really, really hard done by this year. I really do. I think he had a great start to the season. Not just the shot stopping, which I think people kind of knew he was capable of, but even his distribution was pretty good, like much better than I think everyone thought it was. His all-round game was pretty good, but it did feel like when we got Runnison on loan, the manager was just waiting to install him as number one. But because by the time we got Runnison in, Jack Alnwick was already flying. The team had got off to a good start, and I think the manager felt like he couldn't drop him. But I think he brought in Runnison to be his number one on loan. And then I think it was the Norwich game where I argued at the time in my review of that game, and when we did 5 things, which we're changing 5 things to it's now going to be called the breakdown, just in case anyone cared. But in 5 things on the Sunday night, I said, like, I see a little criticism for Alnwick for those goals, but it was actually, I think, Jamalu Collins, certainly one of the fullbacks, was just completely switched off at the back post twice. And it was more him than the keeper, really. But I think he's been really hard done by. And then when he won his place rightly back from Runnison, because Runnison was gash, we brought in Ethan Howworth, who was never going to come in to be number 2. He's a proven championship keeper, got promoted before, very, very good keeper. And we signed him on a permanent deal. So it was permanent deal, wasn't it? So it was very, very clear that Alnwick was going to then play second fiddle. He hasn't really featured since then, like he's been injured. It was the official line. Personally, I think he goes in the summer. I do think you need 2 really good keepers, but it's difficult to keep 2 really good keepers happy, particularly when Ethan Howworth is 28 and Jack Alnwick's 30. One of them, I think, needs to be, you almost need one aging keeper, sort of 30-ish, and then one keeper who's early 20s to be able to balance it and keep them happy, because they can kind of work together, learn off each other and whatnot. For me, I would, look, we have to raise funds, so you have to be realistic. And if Ethan Howworth is the number one, I could see the logic. Like they rate Matt Turner, the young keeper who hasn't played a minute, but he's been on the bench, the second half of the season. They do rate him. So I could see the logic in selling Jack Alnwick. And I think you could get like a bit of money for him, not loads, but you could get a bit of cash for him. He's in good form. He's a good age, good championship keeper. Bring some funds in, and then it feels like such a waste to get a loan on a backup keeper. So you'd have Howworth and you'd have Matt Turner, maybe. What were some of the keepers in the championship on frees? I mean, maybe you pick up a free championship keeper for your 3rd keeper then. So I think that's fair. Like, so it's a weird one. Alnwick's one of the few where I can see the logic in selling him, but he's not someone that I necessarily would say, yes, I want to sell him, if that makes sense. But I can definitely see the logic in selling him, just because, like, of all the reasons I've just discussed. So I'm going to put him loosely in the sell tier. But I wouldn't be disappointed if we kept hold of him whatsoever. But I can see him. I could see him wanting to leave. Absolutely makes sense that he'd want to leave. So that is kind of, it's easy to deal with and easy to see why. So, and you might get 500 grand for him, maybe even a bit more. So just having a quick look at the keepers who are out of contract this summer. So you've got like Alex McCarthy, who's 34, is out of contract. Wouldn't make Neil Etheridge, would they be willing to play, as a backup keeper to Howworth? Begovic, I think Begovic probably on a lot of money, but he'd be a great, Simon Moore, they're all sort of 34 and above. Simon Moore, Neil Etheridge, Alex McCarthy, they all know the club. Begovic, or you go the opposite direction and you try and get another young keeper in. But I mean, I think you need someone with a bit of experience in case Howworth gets injured. So it makes a lot more sense to get someone at the latter end of their career as that kind of backup keeper. There's So yeah, John Ruddy, 37. Someone like that. Ruddy, Begovic, Blokowski, Ben Hamer, Alex McCarthy, Neil Etheridge, Simon Moore, all potential frees. That could be that third keeper if you sell. So I can see the logic to that, definitely. Even though I would not necessarily be someone who I'd be looking to get rid of. Next on the list is Ethan Howarth. And look, I know some people are not sure about Ethan Howarth. Personally, when we signed him, I thought it was a really, like if you take the Jack Alnwick out of it and like the fact that he's probably been a bit unlucky, because I do feel like he's been really hard done by. It's just a case of sometimes the manager just doesn't fancy you for whatever reason. I mean, you don't know what he's like behind the scenes. Maybe he didn't take being dropped twice well. I don't know. I mean, who could blame him, really? Because he was in very, very good form. So with Howarth, like, I'm real confident that he's going to be a massive asset for Cardiff. I know people criticised his distribution a little bit, but that was also at a time when our movement and structure within the 11 was kind of falling apart. Like, we didn't have the same movement off the ball. We weren't playing as well through the press, and the possession was a bit wasteful. So I understand why people have got their sort of, they're a bit wary of Howarth, but at 28, I believe that he's proven in the Championship, and I believe that he'll only go from strength to strength at Cardiff. So I do see the logic in keeping him and selling Alnwick. Alnwick's a bit older, etc. But there's not a lot in it. Certainly on last season's form, I don't think there's much in it. If anything, maybe Jack Alnwick has slightly had a better season, but he played for longer and is more familiar with the team, etc., etc. Matt Turner, look, all I can say on Matt Turner, because I haven't seen him play, certainly not in the first team, is I know he's very highly rated by the football club, and that's about all I can say. Do you keep him? Do you sell him? Do you loan him? Well, I think you've got to have 3 keepers going through the season. It looks like Rohan Lithara is leaving the football club, so Matt Turner's got to stay. I don't think you can loan him out. I mean, maybe if you get in like a Begovic or a Simon Moore or a Etheridge, you could then maybe loan him out on a short-term loan or something like that with like a recall clause, just in case you had like an injury issue. Because it would be better for him to be playing. Let's be honest. Like, Matt Turner would gain more from playing first-team football than being sat on the bench watching it. But it kind of is what it is, isn't it? Like, you need 3 keepers through the season, so he's probably going to stay. And then we move on to the defence. So let's start with Mark McGuinness. I thought Mark McGuinness had a very good season. I feel that he made 30 appearances this year in the Championship, scored 2 goals, 2 yellow cards. In my opinion, losing him was a big part of why our possession game fell off a cliff, because we didn't have a defender who was able to progress the ball, change, switch the play from side to side. And I felt like his passing was really good. Like, it was really progressive, but it was really, like, I used this term a lot through the season. At the start of the season, we passed with a lot of purpose. We had movement off the ball. We didn't like dilly-dally on the ball at the back. And I felt like he was a big part of that. And I do feel that when he got injured, that was a blow. And look, Nat Phillips was excellent, and he's probably better than a Championship defender. But that takes nothing away from how good Mark McGuinness was and how integral Mark McGuinness was to the way we played and the way we started the season. So I would absolutely prefer to keep him. But you also have to be realistic. Cardiff have to raise money, and probably their 2 most sellable assets, certainly from a defensive point of view, but I think probably their most sellable assets are Mark McGuinness and Perry NG, because of the age. The player, like Mark McGuinness, is 23 years old, exceptional, very good on the ball, very good defensively, positionally. He's a good talker. He scans around. He's aware of what's going on around him. I would keep Mark McGuinness, and I certainly wouldn't be looking to sell him for anything under sort of 4 or 5 million. I know that seems a lot, but I honestly rate him and his age and everything. Like, I wouldn't be selling him for less than that. But it's Cardiff, so we'll probably sell him for 500 grand and so on. Nat Phillips next. Nat Phillips saved Cardiff season in many, many ways. Without him, I really think we would have got dragged into the relegation zone when McGuinness got injured, because we had nobody else who could do the same job that Nat Phillips did. He took him a game or two to get sorted, but I thought he was really, really good, and he showed why he's a top player. Didn't realise that he's 27. I thought he was younger than that. So, like, it is time for him to really settle somewhere and play first-team football. Do I think he'll be at Cardiff? I think the only way he comes to Cardiff is back on loan, which I doubt is going to happen because he's only got a year left on his contract. So it seems like Liverpool would probably want to sell him or play him. I don't think he'll play for him, so they'll probably sell him. And I think he'd probably be out of Cardiff's price range, most likely. But I would love to see him back. I think having 3 centre-backs in McGuinness, Phillips and Gutas would put us well on the way to having a squad capable of competing. Didn't really do a lot wrong, Nat Phillips. Was very, very impressed with him. And like I said, without him, I think we'd have been right up shit creek. So we'd like to see him back on loan, but I think it's unlikely for a variety of reasons. Dimitrios Gutas was a strange old season for Gutas. Started not great, first couple of games. Then the manager switched him and McGuinness, switched their sides, and all of a sudden he just looked comfortable. Took him a bit of time to get used to the Championship, but he looked way better once they swapped sides. Was really, really brave, really good defensively, and him and McGuinness made a really good mix. Gutas was aggressive and a really top attacking defender, goes and attacks the ball, gets right in the back of the centre forward, puts him under pressure, and then McGuinness is that kind of intelligent ball playing centre back, and I thought they were really, really good. But I thought he had a wobble then later on in the season, and he really worried me. Like, he was making rash tackles, he was making bad decisions, he was getting caught out of position. But he then also recovered that bad period, and everyone has a little bad period, a little wobble. So I think you have to allow for the fact it took him time to get used to the Championship. You have to allow for the fact he started off probably on the wrong side of the centre-back pairing. And then, obviously, he lost his long-term centre-back partner. So it took him a bit of time to get used to Phillips. And then the team wasn't great. So that was more difficult because I think he was having more defensive work to do at certain points. So overall, I thought he had a really good season. Absolutely keep. He's experienced. He's going to only get better next season. We're not going to get 5 seasons out of him, I don't think, from an age point of view. But certainly for next season, I think he's a good centre-back and really capable of making a good pairing with Mark McGuinness again. And I think if we can get the right full-backs in there with them, we could be cooking in that back 5 again. Like, that back 5 of the first part of the season was just picking itself every week. And that's a big... the team was doing well. So that's a real big compliment to that back 5. Next up on my list is Josh Wilson-Esperand. Difficult to judge. He started off and you thought, here we go, he looks really good. Almost looks more like a wing back than a winger than a full back. I thought he did pretty well up until that Swansea game. He made 11 appearances in total. Picked up 1 yellow card. Played wing for some of those or off the left. I could definitely see him working as a left wing back. And actually, I think him coming in really, really helped Jamalu Collins kind of refocus and really get going again, because I feel like there was a couple of things with Collins which we'll discuss in a minute, but having that competition I think helped him. Wilson Esbrand, if I'm honest, the only reason I would potentially bring him back on loan next year was if we somehow got Nat Phillips or someone like a centre back who absolutely is so good they have to start, and maybe he went to 3 at the back, if assuming Bullett's the manager, and we were going to play McGuinness, Gutas, and Phillips, then I would think about bringing Wilson Esbrand back on loan, because in a left back system, I think a wing back system, he could work quite well. But overall, I probably think not. A bit on the fence with him, because I think, Callum O'Dowda can play wing back, and I think you need to get O'Dowda in the side. And next up is Jamalu Collins, another really interesting one. He's 29 years old. He's got 1 year left now on his contract because it's been activated an additional year. Came back at the start of the season from a long-term serious knee injury, but I think you have to look at it at the big picture. I think he came back really strong. He had played 36 games, scored a goal and 4 assists, picked up a few yellow cards along the way. But I thought there was different periods to his season. Sort of initial start to his season took him a while to get going. He looked a bit apprehensive, almost like he was waiting for that big tackle. And it might have even been that Swansea home game. I think it was around that time. He went in for like a big 50-50 and he won it, went in really hard. And you could see him almost flexing his knee and being like, right, okay, it's good. Like he needed that big impact just to psychologically get past it. And I thought he was pretty good then. He does struggle sometimes in possession or going forward. But then when Wilson Esbrand came in, I thought Collins got dropped. And then when he came back, I thought he looked loads better. He looked so much more comfortable, focused, defensively better, was making less positional mistakes. But he also looked better going forward. I thought he had a really strong finish to the season, Jamalu Collins. And look, people have to accept as well, he had a really bad injury, which psychologically can take time to get over, and you need to play games. And I thought he showed enough this season that I definitely would have given him that year extension. So he's effectively on trial next year for a year. And if he's doing really well, come sort of January time, you can start talking to him about a contract. He had 36 appearances, which I think is a really good season for someone who has coming back from that big injury. Didn't seem to pick up too many sort of sprains and knocks and stuff like that, which you sometimes get after a big injury. So largely positive for Jamalu Collins, and I would certainly keep him for that next year, because there's going to be other movement, which we're going to discuss in a minute, so I think you need to try and keep that solidity. Like I mentioned, that back five at the start of the season, it picked itself, and it was a massive part of Cardiff playing so well. So, we don't want to disrupt too much. You've already got Alnwick likely to go. Potentially McGuinness going, but I don't think so. Nathaniel Phillips obviously played the second half of the season, unlikely to come back. Josh Wilson Esbrand, so you're already losing a couple of defenders. So I think keeping Collins for next season, giving him the opportunity to earn a new contract, makes a lot of sense. Experienced, finished the season strong. Overall, I thought I had a positive season. Next up, Perry NG, the skipper who's not the skipper, in my opinion. 39 appearances, 4 assists, 6 goals, 100% the player of the year. Can play right back, centre back, left back. Had an absolute phenomenal season, Perry NG. The absolute antithesis of what you want to see from a Cardiff City player. Going back to Wilson Esbrand, something I didn't mention was Wilson Esbrand fell apart in the derby at Swansea. Absolutely, the occasion looked like it got to him, and just, I don't know what happened with that. I would have thought he's played in big games before, but for whatever reason, it was a problem. But back to Perry NG, absolutely fantastic season, consistent throughout the season, consistently available, very much the player of the year, versatile, good on the ball, aggressive, committed. Like I say, everything you want to see from a player. However, Cardiff City have to sell, and he is the most sellable asset that the club have. He's 27 years old. He's, like I said, he's versatile, he's aggressive. He is the most sellable asset, I would say, certainly in a defensive aspect. He's not the only fullback I would sell, but I think if you can get between 4 and 6 million for him, I think that's definitely worth it. You just have to be realistic. Would I prefer Perry NG was here next year? Absolutely would. Of course I would. He's a quality player. He's, in my opinion, the best right back in the Championship. And he made the Championship team of the season for a reason. He did kind of have a dip in form right towards the end of the season. And I know some people were saying, is that because he knows he's leaving or he signed like a pre-contract? I think it was probably tiredness, because he did a lot of work down that right-hand side. Wasn't always given the support that he was probably deserved and needed from the people in front of him. And I just can't fault him and can't fault his commitment, his ability, everything which goes with it. But I probably would sell him, so he goes in the sell list. If you can, don't sell him cheap though. Like, it's got to be right for us. So I would say anything less than 4.5 million, don't sell him. That's my personal opinion. 4.5 million would be the bare minimum. Like 4.5 million plus add-ons would be the bare minimum. He's the best Championship right back. With him and Walker Peters, the other standout right backs in this league. So don't sell him cheap. Because what I guarantee you, if Southampton sell Walker Peters, regardless of whether they go up, they're looking at 15 plus. And I'm just telling you that I think Perry NG is the best right back in the Championship. So Cardiff should be selling him for more. They should sell him like he's the best right back in the Championship. Next up, Marlon Romeo, been in the news today on a drink driving charge, which I would hazard a guess is why him and Robinson were dropped towards the end of the season. But I don't know that as fact, but it does seem to add up timeline-wise. Look, about a week or, well, probably about a month ago, I said, I think it was when we did the player ratings video, I said we should probably keep him because Perry NG is probably going to go. You do need someone to be that sort of defender who can play all across. Like, he can play in a back three, he can play right back, probably play left back. He can also play in midfield as a holder if you really need him to. He's good on the ball, 28. However, there's been a few issues off the field with discipline and stuff like that. I think you could get a bit of cash for him. I think I would sell him. I think one of the things Cardiff have to do is get rid of any personalities in that dressing room who are potentially an issue. Now, right, whether I'm right or wrong in that is purely speculation from the outside, looking at the headlines and what's happened. But to me, it makes sense to sell him now. He's only got a year on his contract. So I would sell him this summer and try and get 750 grand to $1 million for him. I think that could bring in some money. But then you are selling 2 right backs, which is why you absolutely need to sign Cody Dramer. Next up is Marlon Conte. Came in at the end of the year. Young man, played fullback, can also play in midfield. I thought he was right up there with Kean Ashford for being the standout young players like who came through into the squad and performed. I was really impressed with Conte. The composure he showed on the ball, 2-footed. I think you have to bring in another right back, but I absolutely would not be disappointed if we sell NG and Romeo, and Conte was the replacement for Romeo, and then you bring in another right back as well. So they're battling out for the fullbacks. And I think Conte could also play a left back as well. So I think it's important that we keep blood in the youth and bringing through these talented young players. We've got a group of really, really talented young footballers at the moment, and it's important that they're in the first team squad and getting minutes, even if it's just 5 minutes here and there early on in the season, and you're blooding them all the time. And I also think Conte showed enough that if he continues that type of form, he can be pushing for the odd start as well. So real, definitely 100% keep for Marlon Conte. Next, into midfield we go. You've got Joel Bagan, who's out on loan. I'm kind of sticking to the ones who played this year for this video, because we'll talk about the loan players at a different point. Next up, Ryan Wintle. Definitely a favourite of the manager, someone he clearly trusted. Had a real mixed season for me. There was a little run where he was playing really, really well. And then there was also what felt like a longer run either side of that where he didn't play that well. He's 26. He's a decent, good age. Made 42 appearances. To me, and this is the way I look at it. Okay, when you look at the midfield options, you've got Wintle, Siopis, Turnbull, and Rawls as they're the four who play in that as the two. I haven't included Ramsey because he plays more as a 10. So they're your four options plus Joel Colwell to play. So you've got 4 first team options, and then you've got Joel Colwell, who's like a young, talented footballer who's going to maybe get a bit of time here and there. So with Wintle, if you look at it, Siopis has just been brought in, had a really good first season. David Turnbull signed in January, and Joe Rawls is the captain, and he's just signed a new contract. So realistically, none of those 3 players are likely to move on. Ryan Wintle is 26. He's just played 42 games for Cardiff in the Championship. He's a sellable asset. But I also think out of those 4, he's probably the one I would move on. Does all the hard work, works for the badge majority of the time. I just think he lacks a bit of quality on the ball, which I think we need in order to. I thought that was a big problem, not just from him, but a general problem was the partner we kept putting with Siopis wasn't able to quite progress the ball up to whoever was playing in the 10 or the wingers as well as we should have been able to. And I know, for instance, Rob from the Flower Hour thinks that he gets affected when he's the captain, and he does a real dip in performance when he ends up being the skipper when Rawls is not there. He's the one I would sell out of the midfield for. And I said the other day I would offer him to Birmingham City in a player plus cash deal for Jordan James just to test the water. Because if I'm Birmingham, I think I get in a little bit of cash. And Ryan Wintle, I think Ryan Wintle, much like Ebo Adams, would be absolutely outstanding in League One and help them make a push for promotion. So, yeah, probably sell Ryan Wintle. Siopis, fantastic first season in the Championship. Did have a little dip, but overall, I thought he was outstanding. That dip coincided with, I think, the wrong partner playing alongside him. And when kind of Ramsey and Rawls was out, we didn't have a passer in the deep areas, which meant Siopis was trying to be the defensive midfielder whilst also trying to be the number 8 who's progressing the ball, and didn't quite. I think he was trying to do too many jobs at once when he was able to focus on just being that defensive midfielder. I think he's right up there as one of the best out-and-out defensive midfield players in the league. I really think he's that good. Obviously, he's getting on a little bit. He's 30 now, so he's probably not going to get quicker or better, but he might get better. He can be consistent. What I would like to see is the club get someone in who can play alongside him and to complement him. I was so excited when David Turnbull came in. I thought he was the perfect partner, but we've only seen that partnership in very short periods and glimpses. I think Joe Rawls is a good partner for him in certain games, but in other games, I think we need someone else, and that's where I think Jordan James comes in. So if you look at it if you can get Ryan Wintle out and bring Jordan James in, that's almost perfect. But there is other options. But Siopis keep. David Turnbull came in January, hasn't lit the world on fire, but I think has shown glimpses, has shown he's technically very good on the ball, but I think he needs to show a bit more. However, is that because he hasn't been playing in his preferred position? I don't know. But keep Joe Rolls, captain. When he's been good, he's been very good. And when he hasn't, he has been okay. Ultimately, he's the club captain. He signed a new contract. I don't think he should be playing every game, but I think he's an invaluable squad member, particularly if you've got, like a Jordan James in there who's young. You've got Conte, you've got Joel Colwell in the squad, you've got Ruben Colwell. There's a lot of young players in that squad, so you need the experienced players. So Joe Rolls is a key. I have seen a few people saying that we should get rid of this next player, which is just insane to me, but we'll get to it. So next up is Aaron Ramsey. I just can't believe that people would want to sell him. It's insane to me. Like Aaron Ramsey, if but not for his broken leg and then the injuries that have come because of that broken leg since, would literally have been one of the best midfielders in Europe of this past sort of generation. He's that good. Now, anyone who expected him to play more than sort of 20-odd games in the Championship this year, I don't know what you're smoking. But he played 13 in the Championship, scored 3 goals. Were we probably hoping for a bit more? Yeah, probably. Like I was hoping we could get 20 games out of him, and we didn't quite achieve that. And there was a noticeable difference without him. Although I think Ruben Colwell benefited from Aaron Ramsey being around. I think it's clear he's learned from him. And also he got a lot of game time because he was injured. I would be, if we get the right players in the wide areas and a number 8 and a number 9, obviously, I'd be happy to go in with Colwell and Ramsey as our kind of number 10 options, because I think Ruben Colwell stepped up this year. It's just, I've said, I think he got let down a little bit by what was around him. Ramsey, and I was encouraged to see Robert Page say that Ramsey needs to focus on his pre-season and getting fit for Cardiff rather than playing for Wales this summer. That was super encouraging and the best thing that's come out of Robert Page's mouth in a long time. So I was really, really happy to see that. Aaron Ramsey keep, for me, is a no-brainer. Callum O'Dowda, 29, was obviously out for a long period this season with injury, came back towards the end of the season, made 11 appearances in total. Very versatile player, can play both wings, can play left back, can play left wing back, probably play a number 10 if you needed him to as well. Irish international, very experienced player, 29 years old, very good as well. When he's fit, he's a real quality player. And to me, it's an absolute no-brainer that you keep him. But we do need to make sure he's fit. He's another one who needs a real good pre-season, get him super fit. But I would keep Callum O'Dowda. And remember, this is all, it's subjective. It's my opinion. If you disagree, you tell me. And you tell that. But tell me why. Don't just say, no, he's shit. No, he's dead. Get rid. But tell me why. Tell me why. And if you want to give me a suggestion of who you'd like to replace them, even better. But Callum O'Dowda keep. Joel Colwell. If that midfield stays as it is with Wintle still in there, then I would keep Joel Colwell as part of the first team squad, because Joel Colwell will have an opportunity as an attacking progressive midfielder to play, because we won't have a number 8 who's quite capable of playing that way. Will he get the opportunity? Probably not. But ultimately, I think Joel probably would be better off going to a League One or a League Two club and playing 30 first team games. Like, I really think he'd benefit from that. So if you can get him to a club which is going to play him and kind of play good football, which suits him, I would loan him out. I think it's real. It's an important season for him now, Joel Colwell, just to go and play. And I think it's unlikely he's probably going to get that game time at Cardiff. Like, he might get 5 minutes here and there, but ultimately, I think a loan would be more beneficial to him. Ruben Colwell. Now, this one is an interesting one. because similar to Perry and G, I think he's a very sellable asset. I think he showed enough this year to say that he is really starting to come of age and really starting to get really starting to show what he is capable of. He's still young, still 22, but I thought he was undone and let down at times and at important points, a little bit by his decision making sometimes, but I thought that got better as the season went on. And then by his wingers, by not having a number 9, I thought that really hurt him. I think his figures in terms of assists and things like that would have been much, much bigger if we'd had a League Cup run, if we'd he did it really, really well in the early rounds of that League Cup. If we could have got an FA Cup run and go in, something like that, that would have helped him. But I thought he did really well once he established him. He established himself as the number 10 because for a while, Bullock wanted to play Robinson there or other people there, even when Ramsey was injured. I did feel a bit sorry for him. Like he seemed to always be the one who comes off, always the one who's rotated or dropped. And I didn't think he deserved it because I thought he was one of the most consistent attacking players we had. We always looked better with Ruben Colwell in the side is another aspect to it. Whenever he wasn't in that number 10 position, we looked very disjointed and very lacking in options, creativity. Reese says, questions, are you surprised no clubs have ever seemed to come in for Ruben? Yeah, it always seems to, there's been a few rumours, haven't there? And I know, like, there was a bit of interest a couple of years ago in him when he was young. I wonder whether it's his size that puts teams off, because he's not your stereotypical number 10. But I think it's an asset, mate. I really do. And I think he had a great season. I think he really showed up when we needed him, because when Ramsey went injured, we were really devoid of creativity. How many games did he play? 36 games he played. Not all starts, but I mean, that's a good amount. But it's, I think with some quality wingers and a number 9, I think his stats would have been better. But I always prefer the eye test anyway. And ultimately, I think if you were going to attempt to sign an attacking player, they're always a bit more expensive. And realistically, we need at least 1, maybe 2 strikers. And I guess the other option is, like, if we were to sign, say, Josh Windass on a free, do you have another option for that number 10 position? But I would absolutely keep Ruben Colwell. I can't really understand people wanting to get rid, because I don't think you'd get loads of money for him. And as a team, we look shite without him creatively. Romain Sawyers, shame. Never got a chance under Bullock. I think has shown glimpses, but has never really established himself as a first team player. He's very versatile. He can play as like a 10 and a number 8, sort of box to box. Only made 2 appearances this season. He's out of contract. They're obviously not going to renew it now, so he's going to go on a free. Yaku Mete. Another interesting one, because I was excited when we signed him. I thought he always seemed to score against us. He had a good record in the championship. Versatile as well. Play left or right, play up front. We played him up front more often than not, and I think his link-up play is really good, but his finishing was really poor for whatever reason, which is something which I didn't expect. I think had a good attitude, works really hard. I quite like him. I expect better of him next year. I think he'll get more goals, and I think we'll see better from him next year. I would keep him. Josh Bowler. I did a long watch video on Josh Bowler. If you haven't seen that already, go back and check it. It's in the video sections of the Cardiff City World YouTube page, or obviously you can download the audio versions where I discussed it. Some people said I was a bit kind to him. Look, I think all the ability to be an out-and-out, a really good championship winger. I just don't think he helps himself. I think he he struggles a little bit, like he constantly coming inside. I think he'd be more suited to the left. I think he's got all the ability in the world, probably not that elite mentality that's needed. And probably that comes down to confidence more than anything. I don't know what it is, but I wouldn't keep him. Let's just say that. Unless you plan to play him on the left and drop him if he's shit. And I still wouldn't keep him. Unless he was free, then I might keep him. Yeah, if he was free and he was going to be a left wing option, then maybe. But no, Josh Bowler, no, I'd move on from him. Ollie Tanner. Ollie Tanner's a tricky one. Obviously scored that fantastic goal versus Swansea. I was surprised to know that he made 36 appearances in the Championship this year. Obviously not many from the start until the end of the season where he was playing at fullback. But still a young man, 22. I think he showed ability. I think he showed a real mature attitude later on in the season when he was asked to play at fullback, and he did his best, did a pretty good job. You know, Siopis had to cover him a little bit, but ultimately I thought he did a great job. And I thought, actually, I don't mind seeing wingers at fullback if you've got a good defensive midfielder, because I think it gives you a real good option to double up going forward and create a bit of an overload. Ultimately, I think it depends what Cardiff City are looking to do next year, who's the manager, etc. If Bullett's the manager, I'd keep him. If a new manager's coming in, I would potentially loan him out. And because I do think Cardiff need better options in the wide areas, but I quite like him as a attacking left back. So depends on the manager, to be honest with you. But I haven't written him off by any means. I think he's young enough and he's shown enough glimpses. He needs to find consistency, though. I think that's really important for Ollie Tanner, that he finds that consistency now. And you get that by playing, ultimately. Carlin Grant. See, I really like Carlin Grant. I know some people don't. I just feel like he's a centre forward, not a winger. What it comes down to for me. Made 39 appearances, scored 6 goals, 2 assists. He was in the starting 11 80% of the time. I like him. I think he's got a good attitude. And if I'm being 100% honest, I'd like to see him back at Cardiff. I don't know if I'd want to see him used as another loan. So what I would say is, if West Brom are looking to get him off their wage bill, and if he was willing to negotiate with Cardiff, because from what he said, he seems to have really enjoyed his time down here. Like, if he'd be willing to negotiate his wages a little bit, and West Brom would sell him cheap, then I would definitely be interested in having him back. I don't know. I'd have to see the other loan options before making a decision on whether to loan him again. But overall, I thought he was one of the more positive players going forward. When you look at all our attacking areas and players, I really thought it was only him and Ruben Colwell, because Ramsey only played 13 games. I think it was him and Ruben Colwell were kind of the ones who were working hard, trying to make things happen. So I wouldn't be disappointed to see Carlin Grant back. If Bullett stays, I would get him in again. If we get a new manager, probably not. Callum Robinson. So in January, I said he'll never play for Cardiff. In my opinion, he'd never play for Cardiff City again. I think he made 1 appearance off the bench after that. Unfortunately, for whatever reason, fell out with a manager a couple of times. Got disciplined for internal matters. And as I said a few times, it just seems like it hasn't worked for him for whatever reason. Personally, and if you go back and watch the start of the season over on Ace Podcast Nation, I was saying, like, he's the best finisher at the club. He should play number 9 going into the season. I really thought that that was his best position. I don't think he's played there all season. I think he's either played number 10. He's only made 23 appearances and was only in the starting 11, 20% of that. Scored 2 goals, 2 assists. You got to sell him, and I think you can get money for him as well. I've got to say, I was really disappointed with Callum Robinson. I got to say, on a whole host of levels, very, very disappointing. He's an Irish international, which according to Willie Boland doesn't mean much at the moment because they're really poor. But I was very disappointed with him this year. I expected a lot more, and I would move him on sooner than later. I would move him on quickly as well. And we missed a lot of chances. For Ebo Adams, I'd be very surprised if he's not going to Derby. Simple as that. And I would let him go as well. I would sell him to Derby. I think it suits everyone. Callum Robinson's got to go. He'd be probably the first player I sell. Be looking to sell. Keon Atete. Loan him. I know that'll upset a few. Reese's mum won't be happy, and Reese, they won't be happy because they think he should go. I would loan him because I think he showed glimpses. So I would try and arrange it a loan for Keon Atete in League One and kind of speak to the club and just say, just play him. Just play him week in, week out. He needs to toughen up physically, mentally, and just needs that. He just needs to toughen up because I think he showed glimpses that he's got ability. So let's see him play a consistent amount of games. He's only 22, so I do think it's too early to just cut ties with him. Like I think he showed enough glimpses. Those goals against Blackburn were real special, but it just didn't happen enough. Spent more time on his arse than anything. Doesn't work hard enough. Maybe a questionable attitude. I'm not sure. I know, like people saying you should get rid of him. I would loan him out for a year and just see. Like you look at like Mendes Lang and look at the season he's just had at Derby. That's why I would loan him out, because I think if he goes and plays, like Reece just says there, if he goes and plays 38, 42 to 42 league games and see how he does, if he scores less than 10, not many assists, then I'd leave him go. Do not rate him at all. I just think give him a full season at League One and just see. Like, there's no harm in doing that. You're not going to get big money for him. So it's not like getting him in, like selling him is going to achieve anything. He's not on massive wages. His highest market value at any point is 1.2 million. And that is not the current value. So I would loan him out and see. Just see what's there. Famara Jeju. Good God. First 5 minutes I watched him come off the bench against Bristol, I was like, oh, here we go. He looks good. He had a real good first touch under pressure, held off his centre-back, laid it off, and I was like, God, that's what we've needed. Someone who can link up play. Hopefully he can finish. Had a reasonable championship record. And then he was fucking shit. Absolute garbage. And seems like a lovely guy, seems like a lovely character to have around the dressing room. Just doesn't seem like a footballer to me. And it's only my personal opinion. Mendes Lang was superb for us. Obviously left for personal reasons. And the club had to sell him and I got to get rid of him. It's just the way it was. But I could be lying if I said I wasn't like quietly happy that he was doing well for himself and has come back from those adversities. But I also think that shows that just because someone's having a bad time, whether it's through off the field issues or just bad form, you can sometimes go and send them away and they can come back. Jeju, like the thing with Jeju, right, is I don't think he was ever like someone the manager wanted. I'm not even sure he's someone that the football club had scouted. He was just a striker that was available, and the board were just trying to get Bullet a striker after they failed to get Kiefer Moore, and they just wanted to get him a striker. And this is another reason why I think that you've got to give Bullet credit. He's played a whole championship season without a 99, without a number 9. Now, could you argue that Callum Grant should have been that number 9? Could you argue that Callum Robinson should have been that number 9? I mean, you can make that argument. I think my argument for the Robinson one is he's been disruptive to the dressing room for whatever reason. And it's probably time better for the player, better for the club, but just better for everyone to part ways, shake hands, say thank you. Didn't work out. No hate, just doesn't. Like I said the other day, sometimes it's just the right club is the right fit for people. And for whatever reason, Robinson just hasn't worked. Jeju just hasn't worked. I don't know. Jeju was awful, mate. Honestly, would have rather we played Key and Ashford through the middle, to be honest. But then saying that, the Carlin Grant one not playing through the middle, I think, is much harder to defend because, all right, when he has done it, it hasn't really worked, but he's done it. I would be interested to see the stats, but I would like to know how many times Carlin Grant, when he played through the middle with Ruben Colwell behind him, because one of the things I said was that if you play Ashford or Grant through the middle, it's vital that Ruben Colwell starts first and foremost because he adds that physical side. But also I said that I would start from a tactical point of view with Colwell as the furthest person up the pitch as like a false 9. So he drops in and then Ashford or Grant starting in a number 10 position then makes runs in behind from a little bit deeper. So they almost are interchanging. But yeah, that's Jeju. Sal, don't keep whatever you want to say. Just don't bring him back. Kean Ashford, keep forever. I wouldn't be disappointed to see him play, like I just said, through the middle. But I absolutely would keep him. Eli King, Denham, Joe Bagan, Isaac Davis, Ojo, those kind of players. We're going to do separate videos for them individually and kind of discuss them. I will say that Isaac Davis in particular and Eli King, we absolutely need to get in. The first day of pre-season, we need to get them in. We need to be having a real good look at them. They need to be playing with the first choice. So they need to be playing with the first choice attacking players in midfield in pre-season so that we can really have a good look at how they link up with them, how they are interchanging and how they're doing. Because I've heard really good things about Eli King and Isaac Davis on their loans, and I've seen a little bit of Isaac, but it's very difficult to judge because those leagues are not the Championship. They're just not. And it's no disrespect to those places, but they're just not the Championship. There's also some big clubs rumoured to be sniffing around Isaac Davis. And if those big clubs do make a firm move for him, can you deny him the opportunity to go to that type of club at the age he's at? I don't know. But certainly I'd be looking to have a look at Eli King and Isaac Davis to see where they fit. Because obviously you're losing Romain Sawyers. Josh Bowler's going, Carlin Grant's going, probably Callum Robinson's going. So you've got to fill the squad. It's not just about the starting 11. You've got to fill the squad. If Keane Tete's going on loan and Jeju's going, you've really only got Ashford. And if Robinson's going, you've only got Ashford and Tanner as kind of out-and-out wingers and attackers and Mate. And then Callum O'Dowd as well, I suppose. Although, yeah, so we need options in the wide areas. We need at least 2 number 9s. I think what's interesting is, I think we need 2 strikers unless we sign one really, really, really good striker, and then we can kind of get like a Josh Windass who can play a range of divisions, a range of positions, who can also play up front, or you get an out and out like one like who's your absolute first choice, and then you've got like Isaac Davis and you've got Ashford or whoever could fill in. So it's going to be fascinating. First and foremost, we've got to get a manager sorted. As I said at the start of the show, it is remarkable what is going on at Cardiff City at the moment, and I think everything which I said on Sunday night absolutely still applies, probably even more so as the days pass. I just cannot see what the plan is, like what he's doing, how he thinks this is going to benefit him to get his money back or sell the club. It is odd. And I've asked around the media people I know, I've asked around ex-players, people at the club. Nobody has got even like an inkling of what's going on. And let me tell you, normally Cardiff City has more leaks than a broken tap. Like, people are falling over themselves to tell you stuff. No one knows anything, which is eerily disturbing. Gareth says, Liam Rosenior, anyone? I mean, I wouldn't. If I'm being honest, I think I'd rather Bullet stay for continuity and things like that. But the longer it goes on, you've got to be realistic. It's probably not happening. Liam Rosenior would not be the worst choice, mate. He's better than some of the choices I've seen people suggesting. I think he plays good football. My one question, I think he'd want a big budget, which Cardiff obviously do not have. He does play good football, though, and I think that would be a positive sign for the likes of Ruben Colwell, for Ollie Tanner. He likes young, attacking footballers. Turnbull, people like this. And look, we've got, right, I'm only going to pick, apart from the keeper, right, so I'm going to pick Howworth as a keeper. I'm only going to pick players who are 25 and under for an 11, just as a little experiment with the squad we've got now. Okay, Howworth in goal, and then I'm going to go I've set myself up to fail there, haven't I? I'm going to go with a back four of McGuinness and you'd have to sign a couple of defenders because they're all aging, but you can have Conte and McGuinness in there. You can have then in the midfield, you can have David Turnbull 24. You can have I'm not going to pick an 11, but I'm going to just pick out a spine if you like. David Turnbull 24, Ruben Colwell 22, Ollie Tanner 22, Keane Ashford 19, Isaac Davis, Eli King, like Joel Bagan, and that's not even including Joel Colwell and some of the other younger players who got on the bench and are in and around the squad. Like, we have some really, really good young footballers within the football club. We just have to get the right players in and around them, in and around those players. So let's have a look. Some of the comments. Yeah, Tony Mowbray won't be taking any jobs anytime soon, unfortunately. Gareth Henshaw says, I agree, but if we can get a good experienced head like Tompkins at Palace, I'd be okay with that. Reese says, I'm saying it now, front and outside. My back four is NG, Kipre, Gutas, and Dramer. See, I would play Kipre and McGuinness, mate. I think that would be awesome. I also don't think Perry NG will be here, so that could be problematic. Tompkins is a good shout, though, Gareth, says Rob Boyle. Aaron Cresswell, our contract at West Ham, be a great left back with experience. Yeah, I think we're not going to have much money. And what's frustrating me is we've been through the free transfer market just from the Championship a bit over the last couple of days. And like, there's signings there which could strengthen Cardiff City, make us compete. And then if you add like one or two others around it, happy days. Like Jordan James is the one for me. I still say would they turn down Ryan Wintle and a little bit of cash? I don't think they would, because I think Ryan Wintle would be a great signing for a League One club. But there we go. Guys, that's me for tonight. Thank you very much for everyone who's tuned in. Thank you very much for all suggestions, questions. But do let me know in the comments, did you agree with my keep, sell, loan? Look out for the videos on the younger players who've been out on loan. We're also going to be doing some videos on Carlin Grant, Nat Phillips, Jeju, and the other loan players we've had in. And let's see what's what. But lots of stuff coming. Make sure you check out the Flower Hour tomorrow. And we will have 2 episodes of the history of Cardiff City coming this week with Terry Phillips, when my computer stops playing silly buggers so I can actually edit them. That would be nice. But as always, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you like the video. Please spread the word to all your Cardiff City friends about Cardiff City World. We're obviously in the early days of building this Cardiff City fan channel. We've had someone emailed me just before the show to say they want to get involved. So hoping to add some new faces. And if you want to get involved, get in contact. It's growing every day, growing all the time. So it's going to be interesting. Make sure you check out the Flower Hour tomorrow. Keep an eye on the socials, all that good stuff. If you want to go that extra step, then join patreon.com/AcePodcastNation, where we have a load of additional content. Check out Ace Podcast Nation on YouTube. You've got Rodri gigs on football every Thursday. We've also got gigs with guests coming soon, which I filmed last night, the first episode, with former Premier League referee Jeff Winter. We've got some other ones coming as well, including an ex-Cardiff City defender, among other things. So loads of stuff coming. And if you haven't got your tickets for the Joe Ledley night on the 6th of July, then I really, really, really would advise you to act fast, because I am led to believe there is not many left. So check that out. Only £10. Ace Podcast Nation presents City Legends with none other than Joe Ledley down in Splott, Cardiff. £10. Details for the tickets and everything are in the description on YouTube below. They're also all over my social media, and Ace Podcast Nation social media, and Cardiff City World social media. Appreciate you all. Take care. God bless.